Commissioning documentation is the part of a project nobody enjoys. The acceptance protocol, signal by signal, usually on paper. AnyAutomation Studio is an AI-native engineering IDE for PLC programming built on VS Code that works with both Siemens TIA Portal and CODESYS. The commissioning icon lists the reports in your working folder. A new one asks what kind of acceptance it is and where to keep it, and then fills itself from the open project, stations, modules, tag tables, and every input and output of the CPU, without a single line typed by hand. The cover page is what the customer sees first. Report title, type, customer, plant, order number, location, and date, with your company name, address, and logo taken from the settings. The commissioning engineer is pre-filled, and the footer line you type here prints on every page of the exported document. Every participant you add gets a personal signature block in that document, and the section list below decides what the report contains, so an acceptance without an online part simply leaves it out. The I/O checklist is the heart of it. Every input and output of the CPU becomes a row, address, symbol, comment, data type, and module, with a result, a remark, and the name of whoever signed it off. Filter by address, symbol, comment, or module when you only care about one part of the plant. One-click cycles a point through open, passed, and failed. The counter next to the section follows along, and the remark is where the detail goes that the customer asks about 3 months later. And here is the part that saves the day on site. The check runs against the CPU you are connected to, so Studio confirms the connection path first and then asks for the run itself. How many points, which controller, and the promise that nothing is written without a separate confirmation. Actuate the sensor in the field and the point ticks itself, passed, with your name and a timestamp, written into the report as it happens. In this demo, the simulator plays the field. Only binary inputs are ever ticked automatically. Never safety points and never outputs. A run covers up to 100 points at a time, and a result you set by hand is never overwritten. Outputs go the other way. A monitored output gets a set button, and the write asks first, naming the value, the symbol, the address, and the CPU it goes to. Nothing reaches a machine by accident, and the row still waits for a human to sign it off. An analog point carries more than passed or failed. It takes the target you expect and the value you actually measured, and both print in the document as a table of measured values. While a live check is running, one click captures the current reading straight into the measured field. Collect online state adds what the CPU reports about itself: firmware, serial number, protection level, cycle times, and free work memory, plus the differences between the configured hardware and what is really out there. The document then shows the as-found state, not just the plan, and that is the part an auditor asks for. Function tests do not have to be typed from scratch. Add function from project lists the functions and function blocks of every PLC in the project. Filter, tick what you want to prove, and each block becomes its own checklist, with its number, the language it is written in, its author, and when it was created and last changed. A test step is an instruction and the reaction it has to produce, and on site it gets its verdict, a remark, and the name of whoever checked it, exactly like an I/O point. What you test on every machine is worth keeping. Save the checklists as a template and add them to any other report in 2 clicks. A ready-made template for alarm and message tests ships with Studio, and your own house standard sits right next to it. Not everything passes, and a protocol that only records the good news is worth nothing. A deviation records what is wrong, how serious it is, who is responsible, and by when, and whether it has been resolved. Major and minor are 1 click apart, and the open ones are counted in the results summary, so nothing quietly disappears between the acceptance and the handover. Evidence belongs to the finding, so a photo can be attached straight from the row you are working on, and it prints with that deviation in the appendix. The commissioning diary is the other half of the paper trail. What was done on which day, with the date and your name already filled in, and it prints with the report. The appendix collects the evidence. Images are copied next to the report and print as numbered, captioned figures attached to the report itself, to an I/O point, to a function test, or to a deviation. Enclosures name the documents that belong to the acceptance but live somewhere else, like the safety printout, with their reference and revision. The project moves while you commission, so the report can follow it. Collect project data reads the open project again, stations, article numbers, firmware, the input and output ranges of every device, the tag tables, and the network. No PLC is needed for this part. It is all offline, and nothing you have already signed off is touched. And the result summary is the number the customer asks for. How many points passed? How many failed? How many are still open? And how many deviations are still on the list? When the shift is done, export the document, German or English, as HTML or as PDF, with your company logo, address, and footer. Everything the report holds ends up in one file. The cover with its participants, the results summary, the hardware, the signed I/O checklist, the measured values, the function test with their expected results, the deviations, the diary, the appendix with its figures and enclosures, and the acceptance signatures at the end. While the report is still open, every page carries a draft watermark, so a working copy can never be mistaken for the signed one. When the acceptance is done, finalize the report. Studio asks who signs it off and records that name on the cover. From that moment, the document is locked. Every field is read-only and the editing actions are gone. You can still read and filter, you just cannot change what was signed. Export it again and the draft watermark is gone. The cover carries the timestamp and the name behind the acceptance, and the PDF is laid out for A4 with your footer next to the page number. That is the version you hand over. If something has to change after all, a finalized report can be reopened, but it costs a reason. Studio asks for it, and the reason goes into the revision history together with the time and the name behind it. That is the difference between a document you can defend and a file somebody edited. Not that it never changed, but that every change says why. The site acceptance does not start from zero. Create the SAT report and take the results over from the factory acceptance, function tests, the I/O checklist, or both, and either everything that was recorded or only what passed, so the rest stays open for the retest. Points that already carry a result on site are kept, never overwritten. The report tells you how much came across and what had no counterpart, and the revision history names the report the results came from. Studio has an AI chat, and there is a commissioning engineer among its agents. It reads the report through its own tools. Which reports exist, what is filled in, what is still open. No file editing and no guessing, just the document. It can also dictate a checklist in plain language, and it turns into test steps with their expected reactions in the wording you used. But nothing reaches the document unseen. Every change asks first, and the card says exactly what it is about to do, which checklist, how many steps, and which report it lands in. That last part matters more than it looks. 2 reports are open here, a factory acceptance and a site acceptance, and the card names the one the assistant meant. It stays pinned to that report even if you click into the other tab while the card is still waiting for you. You can allow the call once, allow it for this session, or always, and you can refuse it for good. Approve it, and the checklist lands in the report while you watch, with the steps and the expected reactions exactly as you dictated them. Results work the same way. You tell it what you observed on the plant, and it records the verdict with your name and the time, because a result in an acceptance protocol is a signature, not an opinion. The card says so, and it asks you to confirm only what you really saw, and it defends what is already there. Ask it to remove a step that carries a recorded result, and the first answer is no. The card says the attempt changes nothing and lists the evidence that would be lost, the verdict, the remark, and the check stamp. Only after you say in the chat that you accept losing it does the removal go through, and the second card spells out exactly what it is taking with it, and that the assistant is only doing this because you asked. Some things stay with the engineer. Finalizing a report, running a live check, writing to a plant output. For those, the assistant has no tool at all and names the action in the pane instead. And everything it did is in the document. The revision history right after the cover lists every change and marks the ones the assistant made, collected from the project, checked against the live plant, signed, and handed over. That is the commissioning report in AnyAutomation Studio. Learn more at anyautomation.ch.